Howdy folks, Kirk and Jay here with another tip of the day as far as color coat finishes go. This is Jay's job. He does a whole bunch of color coats. Here's when you know you need a color coat, guys. If you were to paint, can you see this patch right here? And this patch right here? And that patch down there. If you were to paint that, if you put 50 coats of paint on there, that doesn't go away. It just enhances the bad texture. Now, Jay worked on this like 3 years ago and told the guy, you should seriously consider painting or color coat stucco instead of painting, because paint, you usually, every 7 to 10 years you paint. A color coat, you don't have to paint it for 50 years, 100 if you don't want. It'll fade in color a little bit, but that's the beauty of a color finish, a stucco color finish. Now he's going to use a heavy finish because we're going to blend this in. All this will blend in. This where this patch is, this will blend in, that will blend in. That's what color coats are for, to cover all the bad mistakes. Anyway, so what we're prepared to do today is we're going to pressure wash this. And as far as pressure washers go, guys, Jay got a whole bunch of setups. I prefer, like he was going to use this guy here, and I still may, but this one puts out like 3,500 psi, and if you put a turbo tip on it, this right here will give it another 500 to 700 psi. And if you notice, Jay told the fellow, well, gee whiz, what we'll do is I'll pressure wash your caps too, which means Jay's going to be doing some real work here, and I'm just going to pressure wash. But I'm going to go up on the roof, so I want to make sure I got enough hose here to get up on the roof and get the other side. And the more I can pressure wash off with the machine, the less I will have to scrape. Like, I don't want to have to do all this, but some of it's going to be necessary. And then once we pressure wash this, especially the cap, I asked Jay, well, what are you bringing all that acrylic for? He says, well, the cap is bleeding. See all that black right there? That's just bleeding. What does bleeding mean? That means after 30, 40 years, that cap, if it's stucco or what have you, it accumulates dust from the rain, and then it bleeds down. So I'm going to pressure wash the cap too, and when we're done, he's just going to put an acrylic paint over that. You guys could look at it as a rubber membrane. That's what acrylic elastomeric paints are. They're just rubber, guys. So we're going to put a rubber over there. That way, when it's color-coded, it won't bleed for at least 20 years right there. We're going to pressure wash all this stuff here. And I'm not sure what we're going to expose, but whatever it is, we can handle it. So after we expose all this stuff, then no doubt we'll I use Weldcrete. Weldcrete is a bonding agent. It helps color coats adhere to painted surfaces. So we're going to apply a bonding agent all the way around this window first. And we got to fix this, because whoever did this at one time, they had an idea what they were doing, but not really. So we're going to fix this first. Then what we're going to do is put a bonding agent over the whole wall, including the patch we just did, and color code over that. The rest of the house got a lot of issues, but I figured this one is a driveway. It's easy access, and we don't want to be caught in tight places. Anyhow, we're going to get started. Next time you see us, no doubt I'll have all this pressure washed, and we'll go from there, show you how to patch this nasty patch here. All right, guys, let me show you the stage we're at. I see all this paint down here. This is the good side. The other side's got twice as much paint. What they had up here was an odd oil-like membrane. Whatever it wasn't working. They were not material experts when they did that. Anyway, it's our job now, since we're color coding this, to do the best we can with what we have to work with. When we were living in the house, Jay says, Dad, how about I take, I have 3 of these. And I said, why? He said, I think I'm going to have to go over all the parapet caps. I have this. This is Chemset. This is for fish ponds. I was going to use it for my buddy's fish pond. I got 3 of them. All that's going to be around the parapet cap and down 1 inch because we have to seal that cap now with something that will adhere to that weird membrane they got up there. Other than that, that's going to be done tomorrow because it's getting late. This reminds me of a house we did in San Leandro. I had a whole crew. We got there. I was expecting to pressure wash it, apply the bonding agent, and color it the same day. What we did that day was we pressure washed it and spend the rest of the day, 6 guys picking up paint from all the neighbors' yard. And when I said, wow, who painted this? She says, well, I did only 2 years ago. And she showed me the paint. It was just paint. It wasn't primer. Guys, you got to pressure wash a house like this, prime it, then paint it if you really want it to last. So we're at the stage now where all the parapets are cleaned up all the way around this whole house. And we've determined that this odd thing here was a terracotta roof at one time. So they had a roof right there because there's brick all over there. So what we're doing now at this stage is we take a trowel and we just scrape it off. Now generally I won't use one of my good trowels. This particular trowel right here is broken. So this is what we use to clean up. So that's what I'm chipping. I'm going to chip all the rest of this before we hit the road. But tomorrow when we come back, we have to start again from the parapet. All right, guys, same day we ended up staying. I got a little bit of light left, like maybe a half-hour daylight, so I'm going to explain something. Whoever did this tie in here had an idea what they were doing. They didn't tie the wire to the existing wire, so we got a humongous perimeter crack around here. Now, even when I put another coat over here, that perimeter crack can come back. So you caulk the crap out of it. You float it in. And that way it expands. It's kind of like when the bottom here doesn't have an expansion screen. So we can sometimes get a hairline crack there too, even with a brand new color coat. That's just the way it works, guys. This blue stuff, that's just Weldcrete. It's a bonding agent so that a cementitious finish will adhere over a painted surface. How long you gotta leave that bonding agent on? I only ask that because a lot of people ask me that. And you can leave a bonding agent on, well, it dries in 15 minutes, guys. And a few people say, well, it says put it on while it's tacky. Guys, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it doesn't matter. Okay, so we are about a ½ inch difference here. Big, big difference. I want to feather this part in before we do the complete color coat. I'm going to take it here, feather it in. I want to get that joint. I want to get the joint out now because I sure as heck can't get that joint out when we do a color coat over this color coat. Gets a little confusing, guys. And for the fella who trolled me, said, man, Kirk, I'd watch your videos, but you talk too much. I got a volume control on my phone. You can turn it off, man. Just turn it off and watch how we do it. That's for my little troll buddy. Anyway, what we're doing now, or what I'm doing is, I'm just putting another coat over it because the idea is if he painted this, he would have one heck of an eyesore. So that's why he hired Jay. We're in the town we live in. He stopped by Jay's job and looked at it and said, whoa, look like you know what you're doing. So what we're doing here is putting a coat over this. Now I'm going to float this in. I'm going to leave the bottom. I'll prove a point, guys, if you could zero in here. I don't know, scaffold's in the way. See this monster crack? That looks like Death Valley. Well, the guys who did this original stucco, I don't think they knew what they were doing. Well, in fact, I know they didn't know what they were doing. So that's why you get perimeter cracks, guys. You want to tie in the existing wire with the new wire. All right. And besides, it's election day today, so I'd rather be doing this than watching that crap. Okay. I'm only going to bring it down to about my knee, guys. Then we're going to tear this scaffold down and I'm going to do the rest. But I'm showing this is actually one of the worst case scenarios I've seen. And I've seen my share of really crappy stucco jobs. And again, the blue stuff, weldcrete, and you have to go to plaster material yard for weldcrete, such as West Side Building Supply. But you could always use Quikrete. Quikrete is sold at Home Depot, Lowe's, every little mom and pop store there is. Same thing, it's a bonding agent. And it bonds cementitious color coats to painted surfaces. Without the bonder right there, this would last on the raw stucco, but it would come off on the painted stucco in about a year. And don't anybody ever think about putting the bonding agent in the mix. This is not Sika. Sika, you can put the bonding agent in the mix because you're doing tile grout. This doesn't work that way. If you put the bonding agent in here, it'll still come off in about a year because you dilute the bonding agent to uselessness. Kind of like my brother, Lou. I got here and I said, well, where's the plastic? Jay says, well, Lou took it off. I said, why? I guess he knew you needed it. I thought, well, that's a good enough reason as any, because I could have used it. At first, I wasn't going to cover the window. Jay said, Dad, you know you're going to get it all over the damn window, cover the window. And I said, I won't even get weldcrete on it. Some minute ago, he said, Dad, you got weldcrete all over that window. I said, well, I covered it now. So since I covered it, I didn't have to be perfect. Now what we do, guys, is we got a base coat on here. This, in order to get this nasty hump out, you've seen what it looked like. The base coat is necessary. Now I'd use this sponge float with a little wah-wah agua. How thick is this? Kirk's about mighty thick right there where the joint is. Okay, all we're going to do, guys, is I'm going to take this sponge float, and it doesn't have to be pretty because we're putting another coat over it, just like this coat here. This is 1620. That means heavy sand. So we're going to put another coat right over that. But the idea is blend it into the original so that when we get here to do the new finish, it looks pretty when we're done. Everything is uniform. There's no way to get it pretty or uniform with going a half inch, because this half inch right here and an inch up here are going to crack like an egg. So that's okay. We want it to crack like an egg because then we'll put the bonding agent over the entire wall once again, including this area. That way we get color uniformity. And now here, all I'm doing, guys, is feathering it in, feather in the joint. Feather in the joint. Don't bogart that joint. Okay. You see that, guys? Now, when you feather in a joint, that means you're getting the humps and this is really humpty, really bad. It was, even Jay was like, dang, can we even get that one out? Of course we can. One more time in the water bucket. Here we go. Tap that water. What happens is this gets full of stucco. It gets full of stucco, and then if I go to float it, you can't because it's full of stucco. It drags. So I'm going to start down here, right where the joint was. Get that joint out. I'm going to take the new stucco into the existing stucco. Then I'm not sure when we're going to color this. This should set for a few days. Plus now we have to apply the bonding agent to the entire house. and we got to do a few other things, some technical crap that probably nobody but the plasterers will understand. If you have cracks, guys, I mean real big cracks, if you use this and the building is moving, they're going to come right back. So use caulking. That way they can flex with the cracks. Now that actually almost matches that, and that was one of the worst patches on the job. But anyway, we're going to color coat the entire thing because we got all that nasty stuff down there, and it looks horrible. When it gets painted, it's going to look a lot worse. We'll show it to you as we get to the next phase. All right, guys. Yesterday, Jay came, and he applied the sealer to the caps. It's an acrylic sealer. It went down an inch. He said, "Dad, my back is killing me today, reaching down." I said, "Well, I did it 4 hours, and my back was killing me yesterday. That's why it didn't even work." But anyway, let me explain something about the bonding agents and the color. A fella came by and says, "Well, Kirk, that looks perfect. Why didn't you just start from, say, the chimney and do the whole wall? Why'd you have to do this first?" I said, "Ding, ding, ding, give this man a cigar." That's an excellent question. What the camera does not show are some spider cracking right here, where this is 1/8 of an inch, this is 1/2 of an inch. This is just a finish coat, guys, so finishes will do that. And why is there such a humongous color difference? We went over this in yellow, this yellow with the light blue, and we went over this 2-3 times. There's such a tremendous color difference because we had to apply this several times to get the suction the same. If this absorbs differently than this, the color will ghost. This whole thing will be outlined. There's a lot more to this than what I'm going to explain right now, but for the purpose of you folks who have watched what we do this because we don't want to get called back on something minor and have to redo it, not because we're just the greatest guys in the world. Everybody should do what we just were talking about. If you see it needs to be done, do it. You don't have to tell the homeowner, just do it. Make one last little story. We did a job, I bid a job at Rio Vista. It's way past Antioch, and that was about 20 years ago. I was at 6,000, somebody came in at 5. And 6 months later, she called me back. She says, "Everything is coming off in sheets. The whole color is coming off everywhere." And I said, "Well, what they did was they put the bonding agent in the mix." Now, the bonding agent does come in white also. That's Quickcrete, sold at HD or Lowe's or any other mom and pop hardware store. This Weldcrete, you're not going to find it at Home Depot. You got to go to Plaster Material Yard. But last tip, guys, always put the bonding agent on the house. Otherwise, it's going to all come off in 6 months. There's a big difference between that admix Sika for tile grout and stucco. Don't confuse the two. Anyway, next time you see us, we will be skim coating this whole wall here and making it all blend in into one. And it'll even get this nasty joint out right here too, which shows the bad work from the previous folks. All right, guys, we figured we'd show you the final process. As far as how we applied this, we didn't have enough time because we're hustling, we're moving. What did we do here today? We applied a maintenance-free color finish. What is that? You see this brick? Now look at this brick. You see how dark it just got? Well, that's the same thing we're applying here. So in 100 years, this doesn't need to be painted. Will it fade? Of course it will. Everything fades. But this is a maintenance-free, cementitious color finish. It hides all the mistakes. We had a lot of boo-boos, a lot of mistakes that we had to work with, and it's just drying now. Some of it's dry, some of it's not. But when this dries, it's going to lighten, like, say, the top of that chimney over there. This color is X53 Pure Ivory. Pure Ivory. Anyway, that's a funny story. We got our materials at Westside Building Supply in Oakland, Westside Building Materials. And I was talking with a guy. He says, "Hey, Kirk, where are you going with all that color?" I said, "I'm going to do a house." And he says, "You know, I bid that house." I said, "Yeah? Well, sorry you didn't get it." He says, "What about the caps?" I told him to paint the caps first. I said, "We already handled it." He said, "Well, how'd you do it?" And I explained what we did on these caps. He said, "What'd you charge him for that?" I said, "Nothing. It's part of the trade." Show you the difference between a painted surface and a stucco finish. Say, for example, this brick here, when it gets wet, It turns into this color. This particular finish we did here is a cementitious color finish. It's designed to go an eighth of an inch to a quarter. You would need the equivalent of 70 to 200 paint jobs, and even that wouldn't cover one mistake. If you look, this is what it's drying out to be. This is ivory, X53, I believe, on the La Habra color chart. You see the top there? That's what it's all going to dry out. This finish lasts. This will last about, well, it'll last hundreds of years, but it'll start to diminish. It'll start to fade in color, but it won't peel off. That's the difference. He had more expensive prices to paint. Why would you paint when you got to paint every 7 years, guys? It doesn't make really a whole lot of sense. I want to show you one thing, because the fella here, he had the windows put in, a couple years ago, I guess. They're brown, and so he was concerned with the color. He said, Kirk, what color do you recommend to go with terracotta roofs and brown windows? I said crystal white. Crystal white goes with everything, guys. But anyway, that's what it looks like. You can see the terracotta. Now, areas like this right here, this is dry. We just finished putting this on. It's about 5:30 today, right now. It's kind of late. Anyway, I'll let you guys decide who thinks it kind of looks cool with this particular color, which is pure ivory. To go with the natural brown windows and the terracotta, because he was thinking about it. I said, man, it looks cool the way it is, or go with crystal white, which is a neutral finish. It goes with everything, mighty elegant. And what we did is, again, we blended in 10 different finishes. So that's what you get when you go with the color coat, maintenance-free, cementitious finish versus painting. And sometimes, I mean, it's 25 times more work to do this, but sometimes it's even cheaper than a paint job, and it covers everything. Okay, folks, we're going to show you the conclusion of this color code. Here's something. Where's Waldo? That means, what did he do differently? It separates from what we did. If you watch the beginning of this video, how we pressure wash and how we do all the prep work, there's something that he did that really enhances it. It's kind of like the lipstick of it. All right, this is what we did. He had a lot of nasty patches, and our job was to get rid of all the nasty patches. We've achieved that. Now, this whole wall, when it dries out, it's going to be a complete solid color. We've had 3 days of rain, parapets. The rain just hits this, and we kind of stopped by here 2 hours ago, and there was still variations of color. If you wet a brick, what happens? It gets wet and it darkens 10 shades. This, very similar. It'll darken 10 shades, but when it dries, it's going to be a solid color. What's the difference of that? This will last 100 years, guys. Unless you say, dang, I'm tired of that color. I want to paint it a different color. Anyway, I would advise against that when you have a maintenance-free color finish. And what I was talking about is, what do you see different? Personally, I'm going to admit something. I don't notice anybody's color of their eyes, never have, probably never will, and I don't ever notice if anybody's wearing a ring. I do now since I'm wearing one, but I remember my fiancée saying, Kirk, what color eyes do you have? I said, green. She says, no, you don't. You have blue. And I said, well, I just don't. That doesn't compute. I know every song, the words, but some things get away from me. Can you guys see from the earlier video to today what he did differently after we hit the road? That's a question like for a detective. I'm going to give a weird example. Jay and I did a job on video, and a house got robbed right across the street. And I'm fixing the front of a house, and it's a real delicate job. I'm going to put this in the description too. And I'll actually put what he did differently in the description, but I'm curious how many people could see it, because I don't see too many things. So I'm curious if you do, if you're a detective or not. Anyhow, the house we did 13 years ago, I was concentrating. Police, and we said, dang, what are all those cop cars across the street? The cops came over and said, did you see what happened? I said, man, I'm working on the wall right here. I got business right here. I'm focused. He said, didn't you see the car hit the road? And I said, I saw a car. He said, what color? I said, I don't know, man. I'm busy here. Anyway,
He said, man, you make a lousy detective. And I say, and my fiance says, Kurt, you make a horrible detective. The only thing I'm good at is I notice everything in stucco and plastering. I got a few other good points, like I remember all the words to almost every song written. But other than that, I am no detective. Are you guys? What did he do differently when we left? Anyway, my name is Kirk. Jason is on the camera. We thank you for watching. And we'll see you on the next one.
All right, folks, as always, we want to thank you all for watching. We really appreciate your questions and comments. Please let us know if there's anything you'd like to learn about. And as always, from the entire Giordano family, we'll see you on the next one. Okay, well, we're never going to get better than that, so...